Thank you so much for having me here today. It's really an honor to be up here. So I'm Joe Solomon, and I'm running for Attorney General to protect Rhode Islanders. I grew up in a family where service to Rhode Island was a responsibility, not a slogan. For over 15 years, I've lived up to that responsibility, and I've seen our justice system from every angle. For over a decade, I've served as a bail commissioner. Middle of the night, weekends, going into the police stations. When someone gets arrested, I'm the one who shows up. I review the case, sign the warrant, and make the tough call. Is this person a danger or not? Are they gonna stay locked up? If they're a danger, they stay locked up. I've also been an attorney for over 15 years, and I prosecute cases in the Warwick Solicitor's Office. I've seen the system from every angle. And for the last 11 years, I've served in the State House, passing laws that protect Rhode Islanders. I wrote the elder exploitation law that helps banks stop scammers before they drain a senior's savings. It's something we hear about all the time in the news, and we really need to put a stop to it. It's laws like that that are gonna change it and turn things around. I passed the catalytic converter bill that cut thefts by 80% in some cities. I fought to lower prescription drug costs and hold insurance companies accountable. The Attorney General is the top law enforcement officer and the lawyer for 1.1 million Rhode Islanders. I'm not running to learn this job on your dime. I've been doing it my whole career. As your Attorney General, my first priority is keeping dangerous criminals off the street. Violent offenders and repeat criminals threaten the safety of our neighborhoods, and I will use every tool the law gives me to hold them accountable. Your family deserves to feel safe in your home, in your schools, in your community. I'll go after anyone that preys on the vulnerable, scammers who target seniors, people who exploit children. I've written the laws to stop them. Now I want to serve in the office that prosecutes them. But protecting Rhode Island families means more than fighting crime. It means ensuring you have access to quality, affordable health care. When hospitals want to merge, the question isn't what's best for our corporate executives. It's what's best for patients, nurses, and the community. I will stand up at every hearing and make sure Rhode Islanders come first. When insurance companies try to jack up your rates, I'll be there fighting to keep coverage affordable. And I'll take on the prior authorization schemes that let insurance company bureaucrats overrule your doctor. No Rhode Island family should be denied the care that they need because some insurance company is worried about its bottom line. In protecting Rhode Island families, standing up to Washington when it threatens our rights and our way of life. You need an Attorney General who isn't afraid to take that fight all the way to Donald Trump if that's what it takes. I've dedicated my career to this work as a bail commissioner, making public safety decisions at 2 a.m. in the morning, as a prosecutor holding criminals accountable in court, and as a legislator writing laws that protect our communities. That's the experience your Attorney General needs, and that's what I'm bringing to this race. Together, we'll move Rhode Island forward. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Sarah?
Sure. When I think about the Attorney General's role, one of the things, or one of the issues that they would touch that is most important to me is domestic violence and advocacy for survivors of domestic violence. What safeguards do you think Rhode Island has in place that we do well, and what do you think we need to expand upon to protect people who may be in that situation?
Absolutely. I think the domestic violence advocate that are in the system right now are so important. Connecting with the victims, hearing their perspective, because sometimes the victims are out there, they feel like they're on their own. They've filed a complaint with the police. You don't want them to lose that connection with the criminal justice system. You don't want them to feel that there's no families, that there's nobody that they can turn to. The domestic violence advocate is something I feel so strongly about. As a prosecutor in the solicitor's office, I worked hand in hand with the domestic violence advocate, and sometimes they would translate for the victims where they felt like they couldn't really get that message out there. They were quiet about it, and they helped convey that message. So I think that's extremely important. Services after there's a conviction, I think that's really important, and to ensure that the no contact order is abided by. Sometimes I've also seen where the victims have been contacted by the person that there's a no contact order, and they don't say anything. They don't realize that they can say something about it to get this person arrested. So there's just a couple of things. I could go on and on about it.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Greg?
As a former inner city police officer in the big city of Dallas, saw a lot of guns, more guns I wanted to see. A lot of those guns came from overseas with very lax regulations. My question as a concerned citizen, children in the school system, what is your position on stricter gun laws, assault weapons, and have you or would you take campaign donations from the NRA?
Well, I don't think the NRA actually gives campaign donations. I think that was something that was eliminated many, many years ago. I know they had an issue many years ago. I believe in common sense stuff. So really what it comes down to, I voted for the red flag bill. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the red flag bill. So if someone, if there's a concern about an individual, mental health, we've all seen it in our personal lives, where there was someone who was having a mental health crisis, and the red flag bill that I've voted in support of would allow someone to petition the court to temporarily take those guns away from that individual. It doesn't take away their right to own a firearm. However, it starts the process to make sure that the person is capable of owning a firearm and whatnot. I've also there was the sorry, bear with me. I'm just trying to remember. But I think that's a major thing. But prior to being elected, one of the other things that I worked on was closing the loophole with the district court. So if a person was deemed mentally incompetent, they're prohibited from owning a firearm. However, that determination by a court wasn't necessarily being communicated to the NICS database that does the background checks, believe it or not. So a person could go into a gun store, fill out the form, say, I've never been deemed mentally incompetent. And there was nothing to back that up. So it was basically on their word. So we closed that loophole, and now the courts are required to report that to the NICS database. So I think those are some common sense things that we really need to be a part of. So that's where I stand on those issues.
But if you could just clarify for me, where do you stand on assault weapon ban?
So I feel like, so the recent assault weapon ban, I did not support that particular bill, especially due to the fact that it is the most restrictive in the country, more so than Massachusetts. We all know that Massachusetts has one of the toughest gun laws in the country. This bill went beyond that. So I did not support that particular bill.
Appreciate that, thank you.
No problem.
Hi. Where do you stand on Roe versus Wade?
Roe versus Wade. So obviously the Supreme Court is reversed Roe v. Wade, which was very surprising to a lot of us. I originally had issues with the original bill that came to the State House, due to the fact that I have an issue with late-term abortions. I always have. However, in regard to other stuff, I don't have an issue with. I did vote in favor of the EACA, the Equal Access to Care Act. So that one came after the Supreme Court changed their decision. So I supported that bill.
So, General Nerona, there was a couple of instances where there was a determination made, and I asked others that are running for this office, where they were found, there wasn't anything that was found illegal. However, he went beyond that and actually offered some narrative, I guess, towards those cases. Appropriate, not appropriate.
I mean, if there was no wrongdoing, there was no wrongdoing. You know, I trust the justice system, and I think I know what case you're particularly talking
Oh, no,
about.
we could talk about the ILO case, we could talk about, let's talk about that one. So there, you know, there's clearly you could be found that it's not illegal, that doesn't mean that it was necessarily right. And I think he took some editorial license, by, you know, commenting on that, and took some heat, like on, talk radio.
So I
for doing
feel.
So what I'm asking is just, is that appropriate, or is that not appropriate?
That's not something I would do. I think we have an ethics commission. If there's any issue with that, we have the legal system. If there was no wrongdoing with something, you wouldn't hear me editorializing. So that's my personal opinion.
What happens if you thought it was the difference between wrongdoing and illegal?
If it was wrongdoing or illegal.
Well, I'm just saying, I think that's what he was getting at, right? He was getting at it, may not be able to prove it was illegal, but.
But if it's
But
not
it didn't pass the smell test, so, but you should leave that alone as the Attorney General.
No, but I mean, if it's not illegal, as Attorney General, I'm there to enforce the laws, not there to editorialize. That's what people in the General Assembly, that's what people, you know, in city politics, everything. I want to stick to what the laws are and enforce that which is passed. If there's some wrongdoing, if there's something, I think that's where the Ethics Commission could potentially step in, but I think that's for the Ethics Commission.
Judy?
Just a quick callback, because something you said was a little alarming to me. Could you define exactly what is a late-term abortion and when the state should be interfering with a woman's right to her own body and conversation she has with a doctor?
So generally speaking, my issues are with probably in the 7-month plus range.
So how many women do you think are having abortions at the 7-month range?
Probably not many.
Okay.
Probably not many.
Because
But what I do feel is that the General Assembly has spoken on this issue, and the law is the law. And I would, as Attorney General, that's not something that I would get in the way of. The General Assembly's spoken, they've codified Roe v. Wade, and that's it. So I wouldn't put my influence on any way to change that process.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but at a time when we have an administration in Washington and people all around the country that are actively seeking to repeal a woman's right to vote, I would prefer it if your concern was that women are allowed to make choices with their doctors and not so much on specifying what you don't condone. Because I don't think there's a lot of women able to get pregnant, have some kind of a healthy pregnancy, and get to 7 months and go, oh, whoops. So, you know, if you could send
You're
a
right.
language that centered women over that, I think that would be helpful.
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right.
We're good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.